Welcome to InitiativeOne podcast. My name is Tracy Johnson, and I'm so happy that you're joining us here this morning. We have a special guest today, and our guest is our typical podcast MC, Dr. Fred Johnson. And he is here to coach me and hopefully coach you in how to build and grow a company that is scaling. And our challenge as an organization is that we are growing at about 25 to 30% per year. And systems, people, all of those things are changing. And in the accelerated change, we have to look at our own advisement as we work with other companies and apply that to our own organization. So, Dr. Fred, I so appreciate your advisement on a day in and day out basis.
Thank you, Tracy.
And I want to share that with our viewers out there. As you coach me, what are some of the key things, anchors, I'll call them anchors, to pay attention to as we continue to grow and scale this team, this company, our impact, our purpose, all of those things?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's always awesome to spend time with you, whether it's in a podcast or at home or here. And so I jumped at the chance to do this with you today. So let's dive in on that question. First of all, let's say this: the vast majority of organizations, businesses, don't reach the point where they are scaling and growing at the rate that we're experiencing right now. And the reason for that is the vast majority of companies are what we call lifestyle businesses. When I'm a lifestyle business, and by the way, you can make millions of dollars as a company a year and still be a lifestyle business. The difference between a lifestyle business and what we call a value-based business is that one is based upon the personality and the strength and the energy and the vision, the pulling power and the pushing power of the owner or the owning family. But as soon as that person walks away from the company, customers walk because there's often no processes. Disorganization begins to happen, and the organization is really dependent upon that person. And so when that person leaves, things begin to deteriorate over time. And you really have to have a healthy ego in order to transition from a lifestyle business to a value-based business. Because if you have a narrative that says, being in control, or I have to be in the center of everything for me to feel comfortable or to validate myself, you're never going to make that change. And so one of the shifts that we teach leaders, and I would want to remind you, is in a value-based business, you are constantly working on these things. You're working on transferring knowledge that is in your head into other people. And we call that vision casting. It is relentless. You're reminding your company, your teammates, why we do what we're doing, where we're going, what's the purpose of this. So when you're a new CEO, you're constantly reminding about the where and the why of the organization over and over and over. And the second thing that is so critical is that you're transferring expectations that you have had of yourself onto that of your teammates. And so you're constantly teaching. You're constantly explaining, this is why we do what we do. This is our culture. And then the third is you're wanting to make sure that processes are in place. that it is a process-led company, not a personality-led company. And one of the things that I see you doing right now is you're doing a great job of re-evaluating all of our processes, which of those need to be updated, which need to be created, which need to be eliminated. But we're also teaching our team how to dig in. And let me tell you why this is so critical. When you are an organization that's been dependent upon one or two people, what do you think often happens when there's a challenge or that people have depended upon that person for a long time to meet the challenge, and that person is just so dependable in doing that? What happens in a company?
The company doesn't grow and expand. It actually stays dependent. If the team can't dig in and figure out what's the next scale that needs to happen for the organization to be successful. And I'm listening to you and hearing the things that growing pains that we're having as an organization. And I think about what I go back to, because you've taught me to always go back to what's our purpose. And our purpose is really to accelerate change and impact the lives of the individuals that are leading in other organizations. And that same purpose has to apply here as we grow and scale, because our focus is really not on us. It has to be on our clients and the organizations that we work with.
Yeah.
And so if we can't build that infrastructure to support the team, we won't be able to scale to that next level.
You know, what often happens is that, because I call this leaders who medicate the team. Medicating the team means if there's a challenge, if there's a need, a goal that has to be met, a problem that has to be solved, if you know that person in the past either has the ability to do it and has a pattern of jumping in at the last minute to save the day, guess what happens? The team learns to let that person save the day. And a team can get soft without realizing they're even getting soft, because they wait back and they're waiting to be told to do something. And so what often happens is a team can lack urgency and a team can lack initiative. And by the way, that's also the characteristics of lifestyle businesses. And so whenever there is a transition like what we're going through here, you have to act like you're a new business all over again. And you have to reinstill a new rhythm in the company. And so just like we're having lots of conversations with our team, which is a very talented team and a dedicated team, but we're having to remind them, you've got to make the play. Don't wait on me to make the play. Go after the ball. And if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. And you have to push your team. I'm the leadership coach for a Division I basketball program, and I was in the locker room last night at halftime. And the team, which is a very talented team, was falling short in a couple of areas, and the coach was very emphatic.
And they were winning. I'm just going to insert that. They were winning at halftime.
They were winning, but they weren't living up to their potential. And he was pushing them, and he challenged a couple of the leaders and said, look, this is a Division I team. You signed up for it. There's pressure that comes with this, and I expect you to hit that three-pointer. And missing 4 layups, I expect you to make those layups. And you could see, the players looking at him like deer in the headlights because they weren't used to being challenged like that. And the coach said, look, I am not going to apologize. I have to get you better. And the only way I can get you better is I've got to be emphatic with you about what I expect out of you. And I have to push you. And you're all adults. You're big boys, and I expect you to act like adults with an adult responsibility. So that was kind of extreme, You may not want to go into a business setting and say those exact words, but what are you finding that you're needing to do that would resemble that?
Well, I think one of the things that you just described, don't medicate the team and set expectations higher to their capability so that they rise up. And I think one of the things that you're describing is that energy. How do we bring that energy every day to the team and make sure that we're instilling that in a positive way, not in a fear-driven way, but in a positive way that we really, and that goes back to purpose again. It goes right back to purpose. Why are we here? Why was that team on the floor? Why was that player on the field? And knowing their capability helps them to rise up. And so that's the reminder that you're just sharing with everybody that, don't medicate your team, help them to rise up, set the expectation, make sure you're leaning in.
Which means you also have to let a team fail, or a team member fail. But when they do fail, you have to talk about it. You have to say, and you don't go into shame or how could you have done this? How many times do I need to tell you this? You know better. That's perfectionism. We're not talking about that. We're talking about getting people better by teaching them up, not shaming them up. And so you've got to become comfortable when you're building your team and building the capabilities of the team that sometimes you go step backwards to go 2 steps forward, but actually in going step backward, you're really not going backwards because you can't get the 2 steps forward without the step backward. So I used the analogy yesterday with the CEO. It's like being on a road that's curvy. It's like a switchback. Well, you're moving away from where you want to go, but you're still on the road, so you're getting there. And so there are 3 things that are really critical when you're re-energizing a team, or you're resetting a new rhythm of a team because you've got a different leader like here. 1 is you want to create initiative on the team. 2, you want to create energy with the team. And number 3, you want to create urgency with the team. I'd actually say 4, you want to create accountability with the team. And so you give them high expectations and you expect them to do the work to meet those expectations in a fair and appropriate time frame. And so even here we're seeing, because the organization has been so dependent upon me, when I pull out, we started seeing gaps that I had covered, and because I had medicated the team. And so it often feels, when you're beginning to build that accountability culture, it can feel shocking. Because a team is, and yet you've got to do it in a way that's kind, direct, and respectful. And so you have to have a self-message system that says, I'm doing this. The team needs to get out of a comfort zone. People do not grow and teams do not grow within a comfort zone. And so you have, if you're already winning like the team at halftime, and we're winning here, but you have to reclaim the purpose and set the bar higher, so that what they're reaching for now is something that they haven't reached before. So we're in that transition period right now that we're basically retraining ourselves and retraining the team. And again, we have a team that's all in. And I have to.
And they're excellent.
They're are.
Excellent.
So what comes to mind as we're talking through this?
I think the 4 reminders about bringing energy, setting that vision, setting expectations, and then accountability to the expectations are really key things. That staying focused on those things in this juncture, this pivot as an organization is really, really important. And I so appreciate that advisement. Well,
ultimately, a company succeeds or fails by its ability to solve problems better and faster. And so a lifestyle company, the problem solving is based upon 1 or 2 individuals. In a company that can last through those leadership transitions, the problem-solving capacity has to grow, and it has to be team-based, not individually based. And I'm watching you during the transition. You're spending a lot of time with our teams, working with them, reminding them over and over what we expect and what digging in looks like, and what medicating the moment looks like, and really. But while you're doing that, you've also got to show your team that you believe in them, or else they're going to think that somehow they're being criticized.
Yeah, I think you spoke to this. I have one more question for you, just from an advisement perspective. One of the things that, as we pivot and you describe this transition, is moving the team from that proactive place, from a reactive place into the proactive place. And I think everything that you described helps the team begin to pivot and anticipate and see the need. And I think about that coach. I think about Coach talking to the team. That's what he was setting for the team. How can I anticipate differently on the floor? How can I make that basket the way I need to make the basket, or drive the layup the way that I need to drive the layup? So moving them from seeing what is into what can be is that pivot from reactive to proactive.
Yes, and a way to describe that is when we teach teams how to make that pivot, every member of that team has to subscribe to a mentality as if everything depended upon me getting this problem solved. Yes. Our company's survival is upon me getting this goal met. And when you begin to think that way, you don't immediately go to, well, who can help me? Who can I help share the load? Well, someone may help you and someone may share the load, but you don't automatically default to, well, I'll let someone else solve the problem. You have to go to a mentality that I am responsible for fulfilling my share of the commitments. If I make that commitment, I'm responsible for fulfilling it. This is a barrier, so what do I need to fix this? It is a 100% responsibility culture. Yeah. Not a blame culture, but a self-reflection culture. Okay, we're not getting that done. There's a problem. It depends upon me, so go after it. Yeah. And that's the kind of mentality that you have to constantly be working on with your team. And in all honesty, I don't think I was as diligent in that as I needed to be, because I often did the very thing that we're talking about in medicating the team, because I could come up with a quicker solution and get on with it. But it wasn't doing my team favors, and it wasn't doing me favors or the company favors.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
So those are just some quick things that we wanted to talk about, that when you're trying to elevate your team, you know, are you talking to your team about taking the initiative in problem solving? Are you creating energy? Are you I even forgot the other two.
Process. Do you have processes in place, or what needs to be built into place so that as you're working in the business, you're working on the business, right? That's
Yes.
what I think of when I think of processes.
And are you creating a culture of accountability?
Yeah.
And so that's where we are right now, and we're finding that good teams want that. And they respond to that. Now, they may not like it at the moment that it's happening, but they want it and they need it. So that's how you begin to re-energize a team when it's been used to a prior rhythm under a prior leader. Yeah. So thanks. I've enjoyed spending time with you.
Thank you, Dr. Fred, for joining us. And I hope you all take the advisement that Dr. Fred had shared with me this morning. I'm certainly taking it to heart. And we appreciate you. We're so glad you're here. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those places, and join us each month at our monthly think tanks. You can find that at InitiativeOne.com.
Pleasure to be with all of you, and thank you for taking the time to tune into this podcast.